The story is fictional. A courageous runner. Castora Garcia was born in a small town in the east of Cuba. She was a happy child, and from an early age she loved running. Sports were important to her family, and they were important to Cuba, too. The Cuban government wanted to produce the best doctors, the smartest teachers, and the strongest sports players in the world. There were special government schools for intelligent young scientists, and for children who were good at sports. By the time she was 10 years old, Castora could run very fast. Soon she was winning races often without shoes. She wanted someone from a government sports school to see her. Castora knew that only Cuba's best students were chosen. So she practiced hard every day. At last she heard the news that she was waiting for. At 13 she had a place at a government sports school. If I work hard, she thought, I can be the fastest girl in Cuba. The other children at Castora's new school were tall and strong. But Castora's body was changing. She stopped growing taller, and started growing fatter. She felt heavier too, so she practiced less often. Castora's future did not seem bright and exciting to her now. But when Castora's school asked her to leave, she thought very carefully. She realized that she loved her school and her life there. It was her dream, and she did not want to lose it. Luckily, Blas Dallien, one of Cuba's most famous running teachers, knew about Castora. She was heavy, but she was strong and fast. Dallien could see that. Try the 400-meter race, he said. I think you can be the best. It was not easy, but with Dallien's help, Castora quickly became thinner. She pushed her body hard, and began winning races at school again. Soon she was the fastest girl in Cuba at 400 and 800 meters. Her mind became stronger, too. She learned to fight against pain, and to believe in her dreams. Castora finished school, and practiced harder and longer every day. In 1987, she won 2 gold medals at the Pan American Games in the U.S., and in 1989 she won all of her 800-meter races. Castora was very proud to run for her country. Now her name was famous around the world. 4 years after her double gold medal success, Castora was ready to run again in the Pan Am Games. These races were very important to Castora because the Pan Am Games were coming to Cuba. She was Cuba's most famous runner and her country was watching her. Castora's races were fast and exciting. She ran faster than the other runners in the 400 and 800-meter races, 2 more gold medals. Castora looked up at the crowd. Thousands of happy Cubans were calling her name and smiling. Castora turned and walked slowly toward her country's president, Fidel Castro. Then she took one of her medals and placed it around Castro's neck. It was her way of saying, "Thank you," to Cuba, her country. She felt proud of the past and excited about the future. But early the next year, Castora's dreams were destroyed before they started. On February 17, 1990, Castora was washing some clothes. She was washing in the Cuban way, in a large bowl on top of a stove. She carefully added a little alcohol to the washing to make the clothes fresh and bright. But some alcohol fell onto the stove. In seconds, fire covered Castora's body. She moved away from the stove and tried to pull her sweater off, but the fire quickly reached her skin. Castora's body burned with heat and pain. She fell heavily to the floor. The doctors at Hermanos Amejera's hospital worked hard to save their famous patient. People all over Cuba listened carefully to the radio news. Castora's friends and family hurried to her bedside. Bad burns covered 38% of Castora's body, and she was close to death. A few days later, Castora woke up. Fidel Castro was by her bedside. "I will run again," she told him. Then her eyes closed. Castora spent 5 long months in the hospital. Slowly she became stronger. First, she began walking around her room. Sometimes she cried with pain and sadness. "You must rest," her friends told her. But Castora did not listen. Every day she walked a little farther. She refused to stop fighting. Only a month after her accident, Castora began walking around inside the hospital. After 2 months she was running up and down the hospital stairs, 15 floors. Next, she asked for an exercise bike in her hospital room. The doctors could not believe their eyes. Castora Garcia was winning against pain. "If I don't run again," she said, "I will die." The skin on Castora's hands, arms, and stomach was very badly burned. She could not move the top part of her body freely. It was very difficult for her to walk without pain. It was almost impossible to run well. But Cuba's best doctors carefully repaired her body. It was hard, slow work. Castora went home and started running outside. But the sun's heat was too strong for her. Her skin was weak, and it burned very easily. She could only practice very early in the morning and late at night. This problem did not stop her. Castora worked hard that year. She wanted to run for her country again. But she was in her 30s now, too old for an international runner, people said. Castora did not agree. In 1990, the same year as her terrible accident, she ran at the Central American and Caribbean Games in Puerto Rico. Castora was not able to move her arms or head easily at this time. But she surprised everyone. She ran well, and won a silver medal in the 800-meter race. The crowd loved it. "She won the silver medal in the race," Castro said. "But she won a great gold medal for courage." By 1993, Castora was running internationally. That summer she won the gold medal for 800 meters in the World Games in Stockholm, Sweden. She was one of the fastest women in the world again. "In my most difficult times," she said, "I didn't think that I could come back so strongly." Castora raced many strong, young runners in 1995. At 33 years old she was often the oldest woman in her race. But now it was almost time to rest her body and mind. There was one more important race to run. "If I can run in the Olympic Games again, I will be happy," she said. The 1996 Olympic Games were in Atlanta, U.S. Some of the fastest women of all time were there. Aspasia Ponzio of Mozambique, the American Meredith Riley, and Valeria Masterkova of Russia. The early races were very hard for Castora, but she ran fast and well. Now, in the finals, she could race against the world's best runners at the Olympics one more time. In her mind, this was her last big race. The other women were younger and stronger. Castora was happy to be with them. "I will run as fast as possible," she thought. It was a difficult race, but Castora won the silver medal. She was less than a second behind Masterkova. Kastora walked off the airplane into the warm Cuban air. It was good to be home. She was Cuba's most famous and favorite runner. Running, and my country, saved my life, she explained. When I started running again, that gave me life. Kastora Garcia's fight against pain and illness is an example of courage for us all. We hope you enjoy the story. Please subscribe for more videos.